Alright, so many of you have asked me to do another video to show you how to cook some things. Last time we did Swiss chard, and today we're going to do something with kale and farro. So I'm trying to use some ingredients that may seem intimidating at the grocery store, but they're really not. They're cheap, they're simple, and delicious. So first we're going to start by getting a pot of water on to boil. You don't have to measure it out. Farro, although it looks like rice, is actually treated more like a pasta. So you can put as much water as you need to in there. You don't need to measure it out. Estimating, I guess I'm probably gonna put 8 cups or so of water on to boil. I'm gonna bring this over while we get this on to boil. I'm gonna bring the farro over here and rinse it. So this farro I bought in a big gigantic bag because I decided I like it, but at the grocery store you can buy it in smaller packages, usually 12 ounces or so. Lots of different kinds. The pearled farro tends to cook a little bit better. When I say better, I mean a little easier to cook. So you want to take the farro and just run it under water. Cool water is probably best. And kind of toss it around. Make sure you rinse it off. And then I usually just kind of let it drain while we're waiting for the water to boil. Now I actually have kale growing over here, so I'm just going to pick this. So I have 2 different kinds of kale growing. This is the kind that we're going to use tonight. This is regular kale. This is what you usually think of when you go to the grocery store for kale, but they do carry this as well. Some people call it Tuscan kale. Some people call it dinosaur kale, Jacinto kale. It's all the same thing, but you can see it's much darker green than the others, and it's shaped a little bit differently as well. So I'm pulling off probably what they would put in one bunch at the grocery store. So we've got about a bunch of kale. We're going to bring it back over and we'll rinse this off as well. Sometimes kale is grown in sandy soil, so it is really important to rinse off any of those pieces. And like I had shown in the video on Swiss chard, kale also, specifically the Tuscan kale, has a almost woody stem, so you do need to pull it off. When you're doing the kale, you actually don't keep this part. This part is not, it's woody, it's fibrous, it's not that it's inedible, but it's not good, so we toss this. When you're doing Swiss chard, that's some of the best part, is the stem. So, and you can see how I just grab a hold of the bottom, pull it through, and it pops right off. We're going to do all of them. Oh, I missed that one. We're going to do all of these leaves, and then we're just going to roughly chop them. They don't have to be tiny. They do cook down a lot, so don't get nervous for not having all these greens. My kids don't know it yet, but they're eating this for dinner tonight too. So just roughly chop the kale, and then we'll have this ready. This we're going to saute separately from the farro. The farro is basically pre-cooked, and then it's all put in together. So that's what we're going to do for the moment. In the meantime, we're going to let this water boil, and then I'll be back in just a bit to show you what we're going to do to put the whole dish together. All right, so this is done. I cooked these for, I don't know, probably about 25-30 minutes. That's what it looks like here. We're going to drain it just like you would pasta. The farro has a chewy kind of texture to it and a little bit of a nutty flavor. So we're going to set this aside over here just for a moment, and we're going to prep the rest of the ingredients that we're going to saute in with it. So we're going to do the garlic. Oh, Deb, I forgot. Deb got me a garlic peeler, and I did not bring it inside yet. It's still in my purse. So we'll have to do it the the regular way here for right now. So you, as we talked about before, you pop the skin on the garlic, and then, actually I didn't pop that one quite enough for it to come off. It peels right off, and then we're gonna dice up the garlic. I'm doing about 3 cloves here. I don't know if I said before, but I had probably about 1.5 cups of the farro that I cooked. So farro's an ancient grain. It came from Italy originally and was in a lot of Mediterranean cuisine. It's been used for centuries. It's a hearty grain. I think it's probably most similar to barley, would be the closest comparison that I can make. It's good as a side dish. It is hearty enough, especially if you throw in veggies or what have you, to be an entree as well. So like I said, right now I'm just chopping up the garlic to have that ready, as we're gonna saute all of this. I really like the nutty texture of the farro as well. I had not had farro until just a couple of years ago. I went to I guess you would call it it was a charity ball of sorts, but it was a chef's event, and Chef Robert Irvine was there and had made this little tasting dish that had farro in it, and I had never heard of it, so I decided that I needed to do some research on it so that I knew what it was, and I wanted to learn how to cook it. Once I did, I realized how easy it is to cook. If you can cook rice or pasta, you can cook farro. It doesn't have a strong flavor, so it's not something you know that's super bitter, you have to get used to. As you can see right now, I am working on the shallots. Again, shallots are kind of a milder onion, and I'm peeling them, and then we're just gonna slice them. We're not actually going to mince them this time. So just thin little slices. I'm using my new knife that I got for Mother's Day right now, and it is super sharp. It just cuts through everything like butter, and I love it. So once you have all of your shallots sliced, you'll take a medium to large skillet and put it on about medium-high and drizzle in, I would say, a good 2 tablespoons or so of olive oil. Once that is hot and shimmering, you're going to throw in first your shallots, not the garlic. The garlic, it'll get too brown and crunchy if you put it in right away. And then you'll season with a little kosher salt and a little fresh ground pepper. We're going to saute these for a minute or 2, and once they start to soften, we'll throw in the garlic and eventually the kale. What I'm going to use to help steam the kale is white wine vinegar. It gives a little bit more tang or bite to the dish that I like, as opposed to using just wine or chicken broth or something along those lines, but you can use any kind of liquid that you want. The shallots are now all separated, they're soft. They haven't really started to brown, but that's good. We just want them softened. So now we're going to put in the garlic that we minced, and we're going to give that a little stir as well. The garlic doesn't take long to really start to become fragrant. Really only about 60 seconds or so that needs to be in there. And then we're going to toss in our kale that we had picked and roughly chopped. Again, it looks like a lot going in. It's really, so then we pour in about our 2 tablespoons or so of the white vinegar. I already put it in about a tablespoon, and you let the kale start to wilt down, and as it goes down, We're then going to throw in our farro that's already been cooked and drained. At this point, we're going to just saute this around until it all starts to warm back up, come to temperature. And we're going to season it with a little more kosher salt and ground black pepper. And yes, that's looking delicious. Once that is all warm, you take it off the heat, and we take some Parmesan, and we're going to grate that right over top. You can see how it starts to melt down. The nutty flavor of the farro combined with some of the nuttiness of the Parmesan is just delicious. You can put on as much cheese as you like. Let's make sure that it tastes okay. Warm, comforting, salty, tangy, nutty. It's delicious.